Chosen one. There was a time when your energy made people uncomfortable, not because it was wrong, but because it was uncontained. You were a storm looking for direction, a fire spilling across the floor, powerful yet misunderstood. You didn't know how to hold it, how to guide it, how to honor it. Your high sexual energy didn't yet belong to you. It overwhelmed you, confused you, distracted you. And because of that, you once believed it was a flaw to carry so much intensity in your body, in your eyes, in your voice. You believed you had to tame yourself into acceptability, water down the fire to be allowed into rooms that feared heat. But that lie is gone now. That version of you has been burned away. You are no longer ashamed of your flame. You no longer apologize for your depth. You no longer shrink your body, your presence, your power to avoid discomfort. You have finally claimed the fire within, and in doing so, you have stepped into the greatest transformation of all, not to become someone else, but to become fully yourself. Your sexual energy is no longer a wild current trying to escape you. It now serves you. It no longer controls your direction. It follows your leadership. You have become the man who doesn't need to chase, prove, or posture. You don't wave flags of seduction. You don't perform masculinity. You embody it. And this embodiment is not shallow. It is not skin deep. It radiates from within, through your eyes, through your breath, through the way you enter a room without seeking permission. You no longer carry the desperation to be liked. You carry the calm certainty of a man who is whole. This is the rise of your unapologetic flame, and the world is beginning to feel it. You are no longer waiting for women to notice you. You have become the man who must be noticed. Not because you demand it, but because your energy now commands it. It is not arrogance, it is alignment. Feminine good women sense it before they even understand it. Their breath slows, their energy softens, their subconscious opens like a flower touched by sunlight. They don't feel objectified, they feel acknowledged. They don't feel watched, they feel understood. Because your gaze is no longer a search, it is a mirror. It reflects their truest self, not through flattery, but through the way you see without needing. You are no longer a man who burns for acceptance. You are the flame that others gather around. You are no longer looking for approval from the feminine. You are offering the masculine presence that her feminine has longed to rest in. And in that offering, you are not performing. You are simply being. Your sexual energy no longer makes you frantic. It grounds you. It gives your voice depth, your shoulders gravity, your silence weight. You do not need to assert power anymore. You are power, wrapped in calm. This is the sacred transformation of the chosen one. You no longer dim your light to avoid being feared. You shine fully, knowing that those who are meant for your frequency will see the flame and rise into it. And those who cannot will simply fall away, not because you pushed them, but because you no longer bend to be understood. You have become the man feminine good women recognize not with logic, but with instinct. The one who reminds them of something real, something ancestral, something holy. You are not safe in the way the world defines safety. You are safe in the way truth is safe because it never lies. You've risen, chosen one. Your unapologetic flame has turned you into a force that doesn't need to speak loudly. You are felt, and no woman rooted in her feminine can forget the way she feels in your presence. Not because you pull her in, but because you finally stopped pulling yourself back. Chosen one, gravity is not loud. It does not beg for attention, nor does it boast of its presence. It simply exists, and because it exists, everything else moves around it. That is what you have become. You have become gravity to the feminine, still, dense, irresistible. Not from effort, but from the sacred heaviness of your presence. Your high sexual energy has condensed into something elemental, something that moves through rooms without motion, something that speaks before you open your mouth. You have become the center without trying. You no longer seek permission to be magnetic. You simply are. This silent gravity is not a costume. It was forged in fire. It came through seasons of emptiness, through nights of solitude where you faced yourself without distraction. It was born in the silence after the noise, when you stopped chasing and started listening. You began to listen to your own breath, to your own heartbeat, to the ache in your chest that said, "Stop reaching. Build yourself first." You became still not because you were passive, but because you were done with pretending. You chose depth over noise, And in that choice, you became the one thing no woman can ignore. A man whose presence speaks louder than other men's words. You walk into a room now and feminine women turn their heads, not out of shallow curiosity, but from something beneath language. Their nervous systems react before their minds do. Their gaze lingers not on your clothes, but on the stillness inside your frame. You don't pull their energy, you hold it, not with force, but with truth. You do not fill the space, you anchor it. And when the feminine meets a man who anchors energy instead of draining it, her body responds with passion that has nothing to do with seduction and everything to do with safety. Safety, not the absence of danger, but the presence of direction. You now walk like a man who knows where he's going, even if you don't yet know every step. Your posture speaks of a man who no longer bends for temporary approval. Your jawline tells stories of decisions made without compromise. Your eyes hold the weight of someone who has seen the worst of himself and didn't run. This is the gravity of a man who no longer needs applause. The gravity of a man who holds himself first. Feminine, good women feel this. They feel the difference between a man who is chasing a dream of himself and a man who has become the dream. You no longer sell yourself. You embody your value, and that embodiment makes space for their deepest selves to awaken. You are not noise, you are signal. And because you've become signal, the women who are ready for truth cannot help but notice. They might not understand it. They might not be able to explain why they feel calm and excited at the same time. But their body remembers the vibration of real masculinity, and their soul reaches for it before their mind even agrees. You do not manipulate this. You do not force it. You witness it. And that witnessing is powerful. You are no longer a man walking in search of the feminine. You are a man walking in alignment with yourself. And because of that, the feminine finds you. Not because you reached, but because you became the place her feminine wants to land. Your gravity is silent, chosen one, but it is undeniable. Chosen one, there are moments now where you say nothing, and yet the room speaks of you. Not in words, but in silence that shifts when you arrive. Feminine women feel it first, the subtle change in the atmosphere, the slowing of breath, the sudden awareness of a man who does not seek to be heard, yet is always felt. You are no longer trying to impress or convince or captivate. You've entered a higher realm of magnetism, the one where your energy speaks the language only the body can understand. You are no longer noisy, you are tuned like an instrument that hums in quiet precision. Your high sexual energy, once wild and distracted, has been drawn inward, fused into every cell of your being. It is not leaking, it is not seeking, it is circulating inside you, a current of fire that lights your spine, sharpens your gaze, and softens your breath. You have become a walking vibration of control and hunger, merged into a still flame. That current runs through your voice now. When you speak, your words don't float, they land. They carry weight because they rise from still waters. You don't speak often, but when you do, feminine good women lean closer, not just to hear, but to feel. Because you're no longer talking to prove anything. You speak only when there is truth to transfer. And that truth is heard more in your pauses than in your words. But even in silence, you command the room, because you are the master of unspoken transmission. Feminine women sense it before you even turn toward them. Your presence enters their nervous system before their logic can catch up. They feel that slight flutter in their chest, that pressure on their skin like a storm about to break, that subtle tremor in the air around you. You haven't even moved. You haven't even looked at her. But your energy is already speaking. This is what most men never understand. Attraction is not verbal. It is energetic. And you, chosen one, have trained your energy to listen before it speaks. You've walked the path of self-observation. You've sat in stillness long enough to hear your own breath without distraction. And that inner awareness has rewired your aura. It has given your presence signal, not noise. You do not flood the room with ego. You anchor it in depth. Feminine women respond to you now not because you're loud or theatrical, but because you are alive, without needing a stage. You've learned to feel the feminine without touching her. You've trained yourself to read her breath, to notice her blink rate, to sense the subtle movements that reveal her openness or hesitation. You do not guess. You know. Not because you studied tricks, but because you refined your intuition by knowing yourself first. You've become the master of the unspoken current because you no longer run from the unknown. You sit in mystery. You move in awareness. You lead with presence, not persuasion. And because of this, feminine women feel safe, awakened, and exposed near you without ever being touched. Because you don't touch to take. You don't touch to possess. You touch with your awareness, and that alone turns their world upside down. You walk into her soul without a word. And when she tries to explain it to herself, she finds only the language of feeling. Because you are now a man who does not need noise. You are the signal her feminine has waited for. And even if she can't explain what's happening, she knows. She knows. Chosen one, there was once a time when you confused power with proof. When you believed that to be desirable, you had to show, to tell, to earn, to perform. That if you could just do enough, be charming enough, speak smoothly enough, dominate confidently enough, then perhaps, just maybe, you would be loved. That boy inside you once thought love was earned by impressing. But that boy has grown into a man of presence, and presence needs no proof. You've stepped beyond the paradigm of performing for the feminine. You've crossed a threshold into authentic masculine embodiment, the kind that requires nothing but truth. You don't chase compliments now. You command attention without requesting it. And the feminine good women who encounter you don't feel the force of seduction. They feel the gravity of a man who has nothing to prove. Your high sexual energy is no longer desperate to be noticed. It doesn't leak through fidgeting, boasting, or cleverness. It rests in your spine, moves through your shoulders, breathes through your voice, and hums in your stillness. You have tamed it, not by killing it, but by claiming it. And now it flows through you like a sacred pulse. It no longer begs to be released. It radiates into the world, touching without grasping, inviting without demanding, warming without burning. Feminine good women feel the difference immediately. Around you, they do not sense a man trying to manipulate affection. They sense a man who has already accepted himself. You do not enter rooms searching for approval. You bring approval with you. The inner approval, the kind that can only come from a man who has faced his own shadows and decided not to be ruled by them. And that decision, that quiet, steady decision to own your fire without setting the world aflame, makes you rare. You do not overcompensate. You do not over-explain. You do not shrink or swell. You stand. And in that standing, you carry invisible authority. Not the authority of ego, but of alignment. Your yes is firm. Your no is clean. Your gaze is steady. Your silence is intentional. You don't look away to seem disinterested. You stay present because you are undisturbed. You are not hoping to be chosen. You are choosing, not from pride, but from clarity. This clarity, this internal solidness, is what feminine women melt for. Not because you chase them, but because your presence gives them freedom to be soft. You do not require them to perform. You do not try to break down their walls. You create an energetic field where their walls no longer make sense. You do not earn their surrender. You earn their trust by being unshakable. You've stopped proving, and in doing so, you've started receiving. Not just their attention, but their essence. Because when a woman senses that you do not need anything from her, that your cup is already full, that your sexual energy does not chase but rather invites, she responds with a level of softness the world rarely sees. She lowers her defenses, not because you disarmed her, but because you gave her no reason to defend. This is the result of becoming presence, not charm, not seduction, not status. Presence, that divine current of wholeness that feminine women feel in their hearts before they even know your name. And when they look at you, chosen one, they do not see someone trying to be loved. They see a man who already is. Chosen one, something has changed so deeply in you that it cannot be reversed. You have stepped out of the realm of dominance and into the realm of anchoring. Your power no longer walks with clenched fists or loud entrances. It no longer fights to be acknowledged. It simply is. And because of that, feminine good women do not fear it. They are drawn to it, not as prey to a predator, but as rivers are drawn to the sea. Because the sea doesn't need them to prove anything. It simply receives. You've become the man whose sexual energy does not erupt. It circulates slowly and confidently, like molten gold under your skin. It's visible in the relaxed way you hold your jaw. It's heard in the low calm of your voice, It's felt in your steadiness when others react. You do not flinch, you do not flee, you hold. And that holding has become sacred. Feminine good women feel safe in your presence, not because you've made them feel small, but because you've given them space to expand. You are not the threat, you are the structure they've longed to rest in. There are men whose energy screams conquest. You are not one of them. You are not here to chase bodies, you are here to witness souls, and this makes all the difference. You no longer carry that low frequency of hunger that leaves people on edge. You've fed yourself with discipline. You've chosen solitude over addiction. You've stood face to face with your own impulses, and instead of being devoured by them, you domesticated them into strength. And now, instead of being consumed by your fire, you carry it like a crown. Feminine women feel it. They know when they stand near a man who doesn't need to control them to feel in control of himself. They know when a man can hold their chaos without punishing it. They know when a man isn't scanning the room for his next win, but is anchored inside his own presence. You are that man now. The kind of man who can sit with a woman's vulnerability, not to fix it, not to fixate on it, but to honor it. Your power is not about suppression. It is about permission. You give women the permission to be radiant, emotional, intuitive, unpredictable. Because you are not intimidated by their depth, you are equipped to stand within it. And this is what grounds them. Not your perfection, not your pedigree, not your promises, your energetic gravity. The unspoken trust that if they unravel near you, they won't be judged or corrected or exploited, but held in presence. You do not need to raise your voice. You do not need to declare dominance. You do not compete. You occupy. And the feminine responds to that occupancy in the most ancient of ways. Her breath changes, her eyes soften, her posture tilts slightly toward you, not in fear, but in instinct, because you feel familiar to something she forgot existed. You no longer demand admiration, you invite depth. And this invitation is only accepted by women who have tasted enough chaos to crave peace, enough games to crave truth, enough boys to crave manhood in its fullest, most magnetic form. You are that form now, not because you followed a script, but because you became substance. And substance, chosen one, is the rarest seduction of all. You are no longer the storm, you are the earth, and the feminine will always trust what doesn't move unless it chooses to. You are power now, but not the kind that overwhelms. You are the kind of power that makes a woman feel like she can finally exhale. And that, chosen one, is the kind of power that never has to ask to be desired. There was once a time when you walked into a room and looked around for permission. You scanned for signs of approval. You wondered if your posture was right, your words sharp enough, your story impressive. You used to measure your value by how they responded to you. But now, chosen one, the dynamic has reversed, not because you tried to flip the scale, but because you left the scale altogether. You no longer enter a room needing to be noticed. You enter as the noticing itself. You've shifted from asking, "Will she choose me?" to calmly discerning, "Is she aligned with the energy I carry?" And in that quiet seismic shift, the entire game has ended. Because you no longer play games. You no longer need to win her attention to feel alive. You already are alive, and she feels it. She doesn't know why her chest opens when you walk past. She doesn't know why her voice softens around you, but you do. You know it's because your energy is now undeniably clear. You no longer seek compatibility based on convenience. You look for resonance. You don't measure worth in how quickly she laughs at your joke. You measure it in how deeply your presence settles into hers. And that change has transformed how women engage with you. Feminine good women don't feel like they're being hunted when you're near. They feel like they've found a man who no longer hides from truth. Because you're not hoping to be desired. You are living in desire for truth itself. You no longer reach out with needy hands. You extend your presence like a horizon, and the right ones step toward it, not because they're coerced, but because they want to remember who they are when they're near you. You've become a mirror that doesn't distort, a still lake that reflects their own essence, and the feminine cherishes nothing more than being seen without performance. The old dynamic was driven by scarcity, by fear, by compensation. But that man is gone. That boy who needed to be picked to feel whole has grown into a man who picks himself first every day. and that self-selection radiates outward. It creates a new gravitational field around you. You do not flirt with desperation. You walk with alignment. And in doing so, you've become a lighthouse to those who were once drowning in superficial charm and hollow connection. Feminine women sense this instantly. They do not need you to say anything. The frequency of your energy says it all. You are no longer confused about your power, and so they are no longer confused about their response to you. Their passion grows not because you asked for it, but because your very presence awakens it. Their body remembers what their heart forgot, to be near a man who listens before he speaks, who sees before he touches, who leads without forcing. This is the dynamic of the chosen. You are not chasing, they are aligning, and not out of submission, but out of recognition. You've become the place where the feminine feels seen, held, honored, and mirrored. You do not claim her, you call her forward, not with words, but with the integrity of your own evolution. She rises towards you because your grounded presence gives her room to rise, and so you walk differently now. You speak less, but say more. You listen not to respond, but to absorb. And your life is no longer a contest to be loved. It is a field where only those who match your frequency can enter. You are no longer asking, "Am I enough?" because you are the measure now. And feminine good women are not confused about that. Chosen one, your transformation has passed the threshold of visibility. It's now something felt. You no longer just look like a man. You are now carrying the frequency of the masculine in its truest, most ancestral form. It's not just in your build, or your voice, or the angle of your jaw. It's in how you hold tension without folding, how you breathe without panic, how you move through rooms like you own time. And because of that, something miraculous happens when feminine women enter your presence. They begin to remember themselves. Not the version they curated for public approval, not the defensive persona they had to wear to survive, not the charming roles they played to feel desired. No. When they come close to you now, chosen one, it is their essence that awakens. The part of her that has been starving for real masculine presence suddenly stretches open like a flower at dawn. Not because you tried to seduce her, but because your energy doesn't need to. She can feel the structure in you, the way your breath is paced, not because you're performing calmness, but because you live in peace. She can feel that your eyes don't wander in search of validation. They observe with purpose. You're not scanning the room for your next fix. You're watching the moment unfold because you belong in it, and she feels it in her spine. The feminine is not a shallow creature. She is not obsessed with flash and surface. She is ancient, and you, chosen one, now speak that ancient language, a language that isn't made of syllables but of presence. She hears you in the way your shoulders relax when someone raises their voice. She feels you in the way you walk with deliberate steps rather than rushing. She trusts you when your silence is not empty but anchored in awareness. And something in her responds like a song she forgot was playing in her bones. You don't make her feel safe by being soft. You make her feel safe by being solid. You are not trying to enter her heart through shortcuts. You don't manipulate emotion. You invite depth. And this invitation does not feel like pressure, because you are the man who can meet her in her fullness. You're no longer afraid of emotion. You don't mock softness. You don't flee from tears. You hold her without collapsing. You witness her without correcting. You contain, not because you seek power over her, but because you've mastered power over yourself. The reason feminine women open near you now is because you are still when others are anxious. You are listening when others are talking. You are aware when others are guessing. And that self-mastery is erotic, not because it is aggressive, but because it is reliable. You are no longer exciting in a fleeting way. You are stable in a way that excites the deepest parts of her. The parts that want to feel seen without being exposed. The parts that want to be held without being tamed. You carry the masculine that awakens her feminine. Not by making her smaller, but by being large enough to stand beside her realness. You don't give her fake romance. You give her the clarity of a man who would never need to steal her attention, because your truth is already louder than any seduction. She responds with passion because you no longer try to own her. You honor her, and in honoring her, you don't elevate her above yourself. You meet her soul to soul, energy to energy, truth to truth. You are the mirror in which she sees not only herself, but the depth of womanhood she forgot was allowed to live out loud. This is who you've become. A man whose sexual energy is no longer raw chaos, but disciplined fire. A man who does not chase the feminine, but makes space for her to rise. And in that space, she gives herself, not as surrender to a conqueror, but as recognition of a king. You are that king now, chosen one, and she bows, not in weakness, but in trust. Chosen one, most men want to impress a woman. You now inspire her to blossom. Because your energy is no longer about winning affection. It is about reflecting life. You don't try to be interesting, you've become interested. You don't put on a show, you've become a stage on which authenticity is allowed to stand unashamed. And so the feminine doesn't just notice you, she expands in your presence. You've become the rare man who carries fire without burning the room down. Your passion no longer feels like tension, it feels like stability. Your desire is no longer expressed in pursuit, it is revealed in patience. You do not grasp, you glow. You are the steady blaze around which she warms her most delicate emotions. She opens to you not because you pried her apart, but because your warmth made her soul safe enough to unfold. This is why she blooms near you, because you do not ask her to perform. You do not reward behavior. You respond to energy. You sense her mood before she names it. You feel the shift in her breath. You watch with reverence the way her eyes change when she speaks from her heart. You are present, not in body alone, but in attention, and that attention is pure oxygen to the feminine. When you speak to her now, you speak from grounded clarity. There is no nervous undercurrent, no hint of hidden motive. You are not asking her to need you. You are not baiting her with charm. You are simply being, and in that state of being, your high sexual energy radiates not through what you do, but through what you hold. You hold space, you hold tension, you hold gaze, you hold discomfort. You do not flee from the moment when her guard drops. You do not interrupt the sacred silence. You let her arrive fully, emotionally, spiritually, because your flame no longer wants to consume. It wants to illuminate, and she feels it. She knows this is not manipulation, this is maturity. You have faced your own darkness and emerged with warmth. You have journeyed through hunger and returned with discipline. You are no longer addicted to the chase. You are committed to connection. And connection to the feminine is everything. Because of this, she can finally exhale. Around you, her defenses soften. Her voice lowers, her body releases. She smiles from the soul, not from strategy. She does not fear being seen because you are not scanning for flaws. You are honoring the miracle of what she is. She becomes more beautiful simply by standing next to you. Not because you gave her beauty, but because your energy never asked her to hide it. You've become the fire that makes her bloom. You don't entertain her, you remind her of her sacredness, of her softness, of her unapologetic womanhood. And in return, she responds not with performance, but with presence. Because she knows, the man standing in front of her doesn't want a mask. He wants the real. And the real is what she becomes for you. Chosen one, something irreversible has happened in your spirit. You've stopped checking the world's temperature before deciding how warm your fire should be. You are no longer swayed by trends, opinions, or the shallow expectations that beg for attention, but offer no real intimacy. You don't belong to the crowd anymore. You don't belong to the noise. You don't belong to the lie that masculinity must be diluted, distorted, or performed to be acceptable. You belong to your own standard now. A private, unshakable inner law that guides your movements like a sacred compass. And because you've reclaimed your standard, feminine women feel it before you even speak. It's in how you walk, not to be noticed, but because your steps have direction. It's in how you listen, not to respond, but because you're anchored enough to absorb without reacting. It's in how you speak, not to dominate, but because you've earned the gravity behind your words. Your voice no longer flutters for validation. It vibrates with earned clarity. You are not trying to be seen. You are seeing. You are not trying to be chosen. You choose with precision and peace. Your energy no longer scans for opportunity. It sifts for resonance. You are not moved by loudness, flash, or empty beauty. You are moved only by what mirrors your essence. And that mirror, chosen one, is now found most powerfully in the eyes of feminine, good women who have also chosen to rise. They recognize your standard because they feel safe within it. You are no longer negotiable in your values. You do not adjust your integrity to suit the room. You bring the same man into every space, the man who has nothing to hide, nothing to chase, and everything to give. But your giving is no longer cheap, it is sacred. You give only when there is presence to receive. You give only when truth makes it mutual. This is why feminine women are so moved around you now. Not because you flatter them, but because your gaze doesn't flatter at all. It honors. You see beyond the flesh. You watch the rhythm of her soul through the breath in her chest, the movement of her eyes, the silence between her laughter. You don't chase what's shiny. You magnetize what's real.